I'm making this video to demonstrate how an American English speaker would pronounce the monster names from Monster Hunter Rise. There are 3 things to keep in mind when deciding on how to pronounce a monster's name. First and foremost is the fact that I am a native English speaker, having been born in the United States, living here my entire life, and growing up learning a fairly neutral accent. I'm also highly educated in the English language. My pronunciations will reflect these experiences. Second, the names of the monsters that appear in my version of the game reflect much careful consideration by Capcom's localization teams. Capcom spent a considerable amount of time creating different spellings for the monsters' names to be used outside of Japan. Names that sounded pleasing in other languages and did not contain any accidentally offensive sounds or syllables. These names were meant to be pronounced in each player's native tongue. They were not necessarily meant to be pronounced as Japanese-derived names. In fact, many of the names that you will see in the English localized version of the game will have derivations from languages other than Japanese and English. This is an important point to keep in mind when thinking about the third major factor in the pronunciation of the monster names. And that is the fact that English pronunciation relies heavily on rules borrowed from a multitude of languages. English itself is such a rich, varied language, filled with words from dozens of other languages. The bulk of our vocabulary comes from Old English and French, and thus our pronunciations tend toward that heritage. But here in the United States, we have thousands of borrowed words that we have incorporated into our language from Italian, Spanish, Japanese, Chinese, Hindi, Latin, and a host of others due to the cultural influences we have experienced over the last century. As a result, there are often multiple ways to pronounce a particular word that are all considered correct. Even though the monster names are artificially created, they do follow certain language conventions, and so my pronunciations are based on what makes sense for an American English speaker living in the 21st century. And with all that said, here are the pronunciations of the monsters in Monster Hunter Rise. Great Izuchi. Great Izuchi. Great Baggy. Great Baggy. Kulu Yaku. Kulu Yaku. Great Roggy. Great Roggy. Arjuros. Arjuros. Lagombi. Lagombi. Volvodon. Volvodon. Acnosum. Acnosum. Royal Ludroth. Royal Ludroth. Baroth. Baroth. Daimyo Hermitor. Daimyo Hermitor. Kizu. Kizu. Tetranodon. Tetranodon. Bishaten. Bishaten. Blood Orange Bishaten. Blood Orange Bishaten. Pukey Pukey. Pukey Pukey. Juratotus. Juratotus. Basarios. Basarios. Somnicanth. Somnicanth. Aurora somnicanth, Aurora somnicanth. Raytheon, Raytheon. Gold Raytheon, Gold Raytheon. Berioth, Berioth. Toby Kadachi, Toby Kadachi. Magnamalo, Magnamalo. Scorned Magnamalo, Scorned Magnamalo. Anjanath, Anjanath. Nargacuga, Nargacuga. Lucent Nargacuga, Lucent Nargacuga. Mizutsune, Mizutsune. Violet Mizutsune, Violet Mizutsune. Gos Harag, Gos Harag. Garangolm, Garangolm. Shogun Senator, Shogun Senator. Rathalos, Rathalos. Silver Rathalos, Silver Rathalos. Almudron, Almudron. Magma Almudron, Magma Almudron. Zinogre, Zinogre. Lunagaron, Lunagaron. Astalos, Astalos. Espinas, Espinas. Flaming Espinas, Flaming Espinas. Gor Magala, Gor Magala. Chaotic Gor Magala, Chaotic Gor Magala. Seregios, Seregios. Tigrex, Tigrex. Diablos, Diablos. Rachna Kadaki, Rachna Kadaki. Pyre Rachna Kadaki, Pyre Rachna Kadaki. Kushala Deora, Kushala Deora. Risen Kushala Deora, Risen Kushala Deora. Chameleos, Chameleos. Risen Chameleos, Risen Chameleos. Teostra, Teostra. Risen Teostra, Risen Teostra. Malzeno, Malzeno. Shagaru Magala, Shagaru Magala. Risen Shagaru Magala, Risen Shagaru Magala. Velkana, Velkana. Rajang, Rajang. Furious Rajang, Furious Rajang. basil juice, basil juice. Seething basil juice, seething basil juice. Wind serpent ibushi, wind serpent ibushi. Thunder serpent narwa, thunder serpent narwa. Narwa the All-Mother, Narwa the All-Mother. Crimson glow valstrax, crimson glow valstrax. Risen crimson glow valstrax, risen crimson glow valstrax. Gaius magorm, Gaius magorm. Amatsu, Amatsu. Apex argyros, Apex argyros. Apex Raytheon, Apex Raytheon. Apex Mizutsune, Apex Mizutsune. Apex Rathalos, Apex Rathalos. Apex Diablos, Apex Diablos. Apex Zinogre, Apex Zinogre.